My perception of motherhood was I was just going to love my baby, be so connected to her. I just had this imagination of just the most amazing part of my life was what's going to happen when I had my baby. Motherhood wasn't going the way I had wanted it to go. My name is Kelsie Oliver. I have a daughter who's almost 4. I had a healthy pregnancy. I wanted to have her naturally. I did it. She breastfed right away. So by the book, everything was perfect. I recognized something was off on day 3. We ended up going for a walk, just my husband and I left my daughter at home with my parents, and I had the biggest panic attack. We only could be gone for 5 minutes. I could not leave my daughter. My mind started racing. I thought that was just normal motherhood. It's my first baby. I didn't know. I didn't want to hold her. I didn't want people to hold her. I had to do my chores around the house, like the dishes and the laundry, but she's crying on the floor, but I couldn't attend to her because I had these weird urges that I had to do. People would ask me a lot, especially my mom and my husband, "Are you okay? How are you doing?" And my go-to was, "I'm just tired." I felt like my life was out of control, so I was grasping at anything I could control. That meant every night I would get up and I would check my locks on my doors 10 to 12 times every single night. That was the only thing in life I could control, is if my house was secured. Slowly, I started experiencing intrusive thoughts, which essentially are the scariest things you can think of toward your baby. I was experiencing this in silence for about 5 weeks because I was afraid if I told someone, they would call the cops and deem me as an unfit mother and take my baby away from me. People asked me, "Isn't this the best time in your life?" And I just thought to myself, this is my living nightmare. I don't know what is happening to me. I kept it to myself just because I was trying so hard. I was trying to be the best mom I could be. I was trying to take care of her. Sorry, I haven't really talked about this for a minute, but the risk for myself was suicide. I was so sick and I had not had any help. I didn't know there was help. I had told my husband the best thing for you and Harper is if I'm just not here anymore. And I felt like if I just kind of took myself out of the picture and left them, they would just be better that way. I ended up asking my husband where his gun was. We were in our bedroom and he completely disassembled it. He then took me to the emergency room. So the next day I went and saw a therapist. I went with my husband thinking I would be gone for about an hour or so. My therapist had just heard about Emily Dykes and her story. And when I came in and I told her my story, it was so close to what Emily had experienced before her tragedy that my therapist decided to intervene as quickly as possible and then send me to the psych ward. I didn't want to go to the psych ward, and I didn't think I was that bad. I don't know where I would be, and I honestly don't feel like I would be here without her stepping in and taking that drastic measure. Emily's story really shed light on this issue of suffering in silence. I feel like it taught my therapist to recognize the signs before it gets too late. The easiest way to break the silence is to admit to yourself that something is wrong and to know that it doesn't have to be this way. I was able to tell people no, I'm not okay, and this is a living nightmare. I learned how to cope. I learned how to try to break the cycle. Letting people in was so hard because I was so shut off and ashamed of what had happened and what I was experiencing. But once I finally opened back up and shared my story and let them in and let them help me, burdens just started coming off. It wasn't like an overnight thing by any means, but people were able to just reach out and take things from me. That's when I felt like my healing was coming and I was able to not just carry this, but let it go. She was about 18 months old when I felt like I was finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I wanted to watch her grow up, and I didn't want to end my life. She is my number one reason of why I worked so hard to get better.
Then ski, so just a second, okay? I gotta get mine.
So I'm a big snowboarder, and for the first time, I took her up last week with me. Watching her just sing down the mountain and be so proud of herself that she's done it and she's doing it made my mom heart so happy. It was a long process to get to where I am now. I still am an anxious person. I still have some tendencies, and that's okay. Having come full circle, having my second baby, I can now say there's so many positives about being a mom. I get to care for this little baby. I get to bathe this baby, which to many is no big deal, but with my first baby, it was not something I could do. That does not for 1 second mean that's easy, but because of this experience, this love I feel for him that I didn't feel with Harper. It's everything that I wanted. And I really am able to enjoy those times with my babies. I am so grateful for the Emily effect. Because of Emily and her family and her story, it saved my life. I feel like if we talk about it, and if you really share what's happening, so many moms will be able to come out and say what's been going on with them as well. It's not easy to share something so close to my heart. I realized that someone needs to be the voice for this and show that it can go full circle. You're stronger if you get help, as opposed to you just suffering alone in silence. I do believe healing is possible for anyone. And if you are a mother out there who is struggling, don't be ashamed. Your life is worth it.